I am a mother, a wife, a child of God as my basis for everything. Mother of two, married to one and one time only for 61 years.
All right.
61 years of up and down and up and down, and you know what that sounds like, right? Okay, but let's back up a little bit, because the overarching conversation I want you to understand is there's always going to be a storm. And that's why I brought this piece. It's called Coming Out of the Storm. Life has storms, and the big thing for us is to figure out how to get out and how to go forward. So let me just start way back in the beginning, when I was getting my little backside beat continuously because I was painting and drawing on the walls. And my mother didn't like it. No one in my family drew or painted, and she didn't understand why. I didn't understand the word no. And so I would get spanked. I'd ask for paper. She'd come back with paper with lines in it. I don't want paper with lines in it. That's not useful. And so I would get spanked. When the art teacher made the effort and said, I'm going to recommend you for the gifted art program, that really was the end of the first storm. I wasn't getting spanked anymore, okay? She would get on the bus with me, and we would take that bus in Newark all the way around. It was called the 24, and it went all the way around. We got off, and then we had to walk 3 blocks. And I did that at 10 with her, but can you imagine I did it at 11 and 12 and 13 by myself in Newark? Newark is a big city. And I did it by myself. It was a different time. It was a more gentle time. You could go out and get on a bus and go where you're going, and you were pretty safe. However, she was very suspicious. She would take me down to Freeland Hyson Avenue, and she'd say, you see that door over there? Someone could be coming out of that. If a car stops and you're standing at the bus stop, run, run, run. Don't stand there and wait to find out what they want. There's nothing you want to answer. You don't have any answers for them at all. I'm sitting on the bus. The man sits next to me, I get up. That's right, that's how cautious she was. And so I became very cautious. Even as I got to be an adult. If I'm in New York City and I look down the street and there's no one there, that's not the street for me. No, I don't go that way. But let me back up a little bit. I have some slides that I want to share. The one that you're looking at, as I have my hand up, I look at almost everything in the world around me. And I take that information in, and I am storing it. I'm going to take you through a journey of 82 years, because that's how old I am. I'm going to take you through that journey, and I'm going to do it 20 years at a time. So it's not going to be as long as it's really been. This is the Newark School of Fine Art. That's the school where I went as a 10-year-older. Yeah, as a 10-year-older, getting through Newark and getting to that place. Wonderful place and wonderful other students, all interested in art. It was that place where I learned that you're not always going to be able to do exactly what you want to. When it was my senior college project, the teacher said, I don't want to see your senior project of anything you've been doing. Pick something you have not been doing. And that's how I ended up doing that mosaic. I still own it, from 1963. Well, as life would have it, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but because we got married at 20. I sure didn't have a studio. I had no place to paint. And so what I did was draw, pen and ink, And that's what I spent my time doing. Also, when you have children, you really don't have time to paint. You really have to keep an eye out. So I was drawing at that point also. And by the way, we moved a lot. We moved a lot. As a matter of fact, we moved so much. It's that company, you know, it's called I've Been Moved. You know what that is, right? IBM? My husband was with IBM. And so we kept moving and moving. And we started out in Woodstock, and I loved it. And they would give him a promotion, and we'd say, are we coming back? No. You sell your house, you move it, and guess what? You come right back. So being in Woodstock, oh, I have to tell you this. My mother-in-law said the only difference between me and a hippie, I took a shower. But I looked like a hippie. My hair was very long. I only wore jeans. I only associated with artists. And that's all I wanted to do. I couldn't afford it to be an artist because one of the things my mom had said was, you're not going to be an artist. Of course I am. No, you're not. Artists don't eat. They starve. You're not going to be an artist. You're going to be a nurse or a teacher. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Guess who won? Yes, I taught school. I did. And before Woodstock and that piece of work, which is done on barn siding, by the way, because barn siding in Woodstock is free. So I painted on barn siding. I had a small time outside at a festival. I put them up. And this guy comes along and he says, I really like these. I said, thank you. He said, I'll take them. I said, okay, which ones? All of them. He bought all of them at once, and he bought them, put them in his little shop, and double the price. Well, that was a lesson. Maybe my mother was right. I'm not going to eat if I have to do this in order to live. And so I taught school. I taught school for a while. And I had some good advice from my college counselor. You need a dual major. I said, no, I'm going to be the art teacher. You need a dual major. Why? How many art teachers are there in a school? One. That person has to disappear for you to get a job. And she was pretty much right. Because in Woodstock, where we were, the budget hit, and what went? Art music. And the music teacher, you're right. Those things go first. And so you realize there's a lot of smarts to that guidance teacher. Well, you know, before I left Newark and before I went to Woodstock, I got to back up because I see a lot of young people here. They started a class in December, and they needed a teacher. I said, I can do that. Each fifth grade teacher is going to be able to select 5 children out of the class who will be 16 by the end of summer. I did say fifth grade teacher, and the kids that are going to go into the class can be 16. That says that the school system has failed them multiple times. Failed them, and now they are going to be in my class, and they're going to have an opportunity to quit school as soon as they turn 16. And so they all came in, and I had 20 children. No books, no papers, no pencils, because the class was put together at the last minute. Well, what am I supposed to do? Well, you know what we're going to do. I put newspaper all over the windows. There's a glass door. I covered it up. I said, we're going to do art. Yeah, we did art for 2 days. We did art for 2 days because I went out and bought the paint, bought the paper out of my pocket. I said, we're going to do art because this room needs to be the place where we live. This is where we exist. And we decorated it. Everybody wanted to know what's going on in there. She's got this whole place closed up. What's going on in here is the children and I have decided to make this place ours. And when we opened the door, they were shocked. They were shocked, but we were happy. But while we were talking in there, I was asking them questions. You must know where there are some books, right, in that classroom you came from that we need? Yeah, Mrs. Smith has some, and she has them in the cloakroom. Mm-hmm. And you must know where there's some paper and other equipment that we need, right? Mm-hmm. I found out where all of the books and papers and pencils were. And by the time I got to the teacher, I didn't say, do you have? I said, I understand. In your cloakroom, you have 5 social studies books. I need them. May I borrow them? There is no such thing as no, because I know you have them. And so we began our journey together. We began our journey, and when life got to be ugly, and they were upset, and they were doing things they shouldn't be doing, and they were fighting in the cloakroom, we held court. Choose a lawyer. I'll be the judge. Choose a jury. And that's what we did. We did that because you need to understand, if you're not going to participate and you're not going to do it the way it needs to be done, there are consequences for that. And the consequences are, we're going to be doing art this afternoon and you're not. We're going outside this afternoon. You are too, but the policemen that I've chosen are going to put you in the corner and hold you there. Because you need to understand there are consequences for what you do. And so they understand the judicial system. They understand the fact that you can't just do any old thing you want to do. I got punched a couple of times as I was breaking up a fight, but that was the last time, the very last time. So art is important. Art gives you that place of comfort. Art can make where you live wonderful. Art also can express how you feel. And the children, when I asked for homework, sometimes the answer was, we got put out last night and we slept in the hall. So we dealt with that as well. We dealt with it in ways of, show me what your anger looks like on this piece of paper. Show me what it looks like. And they would scratch it. And then after they've scratched it, well, let's just take a look at it. Does it look like anything else to you? Turn it upside down, turn it around. Let's figure out what else is in there. We also talked about the times you feel good. What makes you smile? When I asked those children what makes you smile, what do you think they said? Food? Yes? What's that? Hugs. Hugs, yes. And their little brother or little sister. Someone that just loves them unconditionally and doesn't judge them. Yes, that makes them smile. And so we moved on. We're back in Woodstock now. Back in Woodstock, where oil, as I said, was the medium I really wanted to paint with. Couldn't afford to be inhaling it because I was painting in a laundry room closet. I didn't have a studio at that time. But I joined an art group and I met this guy, Dan Gacho. Dan taught how to transition yourself to acrylic, how to transition yourself, and he talked about texture. That piece was done, and what we used was putting glue in a bottle and squeezing it. That white part you see, that's glue. Elmer's glue being squeezed through the bottle. And that was his idea of texture. All right, I moved on from that, but I do like texture. Oops. I wanted you to see one of the pieces that I did when I was painting in oil. I call that Gemini because it is an expression of me. My husband says things like, oh, that outfit's the other Gemini. That's the other Betty. And yes, I do have two sides. We all do. This also is another piece that I did during that time in oil. When I was painting out of my house but in with another group. And of course, as we move and I have no place to paint and I don't connect with a group, what do? I go back to drawing. This is a piece right here. And I wanted you to see it on the screen. I wanted you to see it here because I want to take you through a little bit of the process. The process is such that it takes 7 layers to get to this place. 7 layers to get to that place. 2 layers of black gesso after I have done 2 layers of texture. Because the black gesso covers well, but you have to do it multiple times. The layering takes at least a week to 2 weeks to dry because I'm using modeling paste. Everything is acrylic based. And you want to make sure that as I walk over, I can touch it. And if it were in your home, I guarantee you, somebody's going to walk up and say, oh, yes, it's for a lifetime. If you're painting and you're using paper or string, it's going to break down. It's going to break down and eventually it will crumble. The same thing is true of that one with, yes, you're right. The same thing is true with the others that's done with the glue because it disconnects after a while and it just drops off. So, okay, I've got 2 layers of texture, I've got 2 layers of black gesso. I am then ready to do the back painting of this. I want to lay it out, but I don't draw on paper, I paint. I lay it out with paint. I go directly to it and I draw. And then I start to lay in what I want. And if you get very close, I'm hoping that you can see some of that depth because that's my intent, to have depth in each and every single one of these. So we move. And now I am in Martha's Vineyard. We've moved, but we bought this house at the suggestion of a friend, and we're in Martha's Vineyard, and all I want to do is water. I don't want to do anything except water. I'm surrounded by water. I want to do boats. I want to do underwater. My son-in-law is a diver. He's the president of the Black Divers Association. I want to just do water. He keeps handing me pictures. And so that makes me happy also, to do water. Absolutely. But guess what interrupts all of this painting? I have to go to work. I have to go to work. I have to go to work. And so I now say, look, I have been home all this time, almost 10 years taking care of my children, moving back and forth with this company that my husband belongs to, and now I have to go to work. Well, I better go back to school because what I did is obsolete. I go back to school and these 2 women got a grant. What you can do that you don't know that you can do. And they say to me, don't do anything ever with blood. You're having an accident or you're having an emergency, I'm not the person to call. Because blood upsets me and certain smells in a hospital make me ill, more ill than you. My sister-in-law had a nosebleed. My sister-in-law and I were standing there, this poor child is just bleeding, and we're like this. My husband finally came along and said, what are you doing? Nothing. I am not the person to call for blood. Okay, so they say 3 things I should never be, and blood was at the top of them. I won't discuss the others because they don't make sense. But then they said there are 3 things you should be. An artist. My mother said, I'm not going to eat. A priest. I like, and children, and I love putting my arms around you. I like giving you hugs, and we'll do art. But I'm not a priest. Okay. And then they said marketing. I don't even know what that is. So I now go out and interview 2 people that do marketing. One in Poughkeepsie and one up in Albany. And guess what happened? You're hired. They offered me 2 jobs. You're right. You're right. And I said, okay. I go home and I say, I'm going to work at that company called IBM. And you know something? We really were moved back and forth. He's moving. I'm moving. I get to go away when my daughter is 16. Oh yeah, I get to go away and I come home on the weekends, and guess what he says when I show up? You won't believe. And guess what she says? Daddy is a pain. A pain. But I was absent, so I'm no longer the pain. He then goes to Chicago. I don't want to go. He goes to Philadelphia. I don't want to go. I like where I am. And so our marriage continues like that, moving back and forth. And so we are now moved to Atlanta. And the Olympics comes. I've worked for 15 years. I've traveled all over the United States. I've been in Africa for Habitat. I've been at the White House for Bill Clinton. I've done a lot of things that I really, really enjoyed. But the Olympics is now in Atlanta, and I'm going to retire, and I want to volunteer. They ask all about your experience and what you do, and are you able to talk in front of people, and can you do this? And yes, I can. And they said, you'd make a great spy. Spy? Yes. Okay, they give me a uniform. They give me a hat. I've got these pins on me, and I walk around and I say, hey, sir, would you like to trade pins? And he says, yes. But I am really looking at what he's selling. And I've been trained that there's bogus merchandise out there. Bogus. And so I leave him and I go over here to a phone and I say, he's got on a flowered shirt. He is over there, and yes, he's got bogus merchandise. I then get on the elevator and go to another floor. And they arrest him and put him out. So it was a great job, but what does that got to do with art? Everything that you do has a place for you to store it. Has a place. When I'm in Africa and I'm doing a build with Jimmy Carter, I am absorbing all the things that I am seeing. Africa is the plains. It's not a jungle. Those are lies. I am absorbing all of the things that are going on. These people have wonderful talent, and I'm looking at the colors and I'm loving it and I'm absorbing it. When I am at the White House working, he invited all of the HBCU presidents to come in. I was facilitating the meeting. And for those of you who don't know what HBCU is, historically black colleges and universities, they were invited in, and the question they were to answer was, what are you going to do for the students and children who will never see the inside of a college? What are you going to do for them? And so we talked and we developed a plan, and I shared with them how I have seen the world in my mind's eye, and how I'm eventually going to put it on a canvas, and they too could put those thoughts into a child's mind in their university, not necessarily as a student, but allowing them to imagine. And that's what art is about. Using your mind to see things the way you see them and putting them down on paper, or putting them on a canvas, or taking some sand and putting it together on a board. You too could find a piece of barn siding. You can find rocks to paint on. If that's what drives you, if that's what moves you inside, then exactly that is what you should do. And so after I retired and I left those things behind, all I wanted to do was create. Create images of what I see, what I know, And is there going to be a storm? Always. There's going to be a storm, and it's all about how do you get out of it. The storm's over here, but the boat and the direction is forward. And when life gives you a storm, keep moving. Keep moving. Well, I was in that good place, and then a murder happened. Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was murdered. He was in a complex going to see his father, and he was murdered. All of this joy I was feeling? No, 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 no. I could barely breathe. And the painting that you are looking at is the one I painted because I felt in my heart that it's not fair. It's not fair. We as African Americans have worked. We have slaved. We have earned the right to be covered by that flag. And that's what the name of that painting is. That painting sits today in the African American Cultural Heritage in Palm Coast. Because I had to say it. I had to say something. I've never done a political piece before, but I felt I had to do that piece. Because we all are covered by that flag. That took a toll for me, a real toll, to realize that life isn't fair. There's going to be a storm. There's going to be a storm. But you have to overcome it, and so did I. And so eventually, I was able to go back to painting. But when I went back, I kept painting. We, the people, we. This is a piece I call Wade in the Water. How many of you know that song? Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. You know that? I know you know that. And that's why I was painting that. Because my heart was beating, and I want us all to be kind. I want us all to be in that water together. Yes. And I just kept it up. I couldn't stop. I just kept moving in that place because I needed to say it. I needed to express it. This is even a neighborhood. I'm even looking at neighborhoods and say we have to learn to live together in peace, in harmony. Yes, peace and harmony. Because that's who we are. You know something? If the Lord wanted us to be cookies, stamp them out. That's not the intent. You're supposed to look different from me, and I'm supposed to look different from you. And we're supposed to learn to get along and love one another as people. Yes, yes. And that's what I wanted to say. Get out of the storm. So I tried to express it. I kept moving, and I'm putting all kinds of things together. And then I went to a powwow. Have you ever been to a powwow? You can let out so much energy. All they're asking you to do is stomp. And I loved it. But guess what? The birds can get along. They can. They can all get along. They can all walk together and chatter. Yeah? And this is one of those, this is a funny one. My granddaughter was looking at it, and she said, well, where is the monkey? You keep telling me about the monkey. I didn't tell you about the monkey. When I was in Africa, I got up one morning, and it was so cold, I just didn't know what to do with myself. I sat in the sun and I couldn't get warm. I went inside the tent. I took off my clothes. I took a shower. And then I heard zip, zip, zip. I looked out. It was a monkey. I went, ah! And he went, ah! You've heard this monkey see, monkey do? Uh-huh. Yeah, right. I ran out, he ran out. But what they tell you is, once the monkey has been in your tent, if he saw anything shiny, he'll be back. So they give me this little piece of leather to feed through the string of the holes of the zipper and tie it. And when I tie it, I have to turn my back so the monkey can't see what I'm doing. So I told that story to my granddaughter. She loved it. Can you see the monkey in that? You don't see the monkey. He's hiding. He's trying to pull on the umbrella. Yes, he is. Yes, yes. Again, the birds can be at peace. We can be at peace. And I don't always paint the bird as a bird. I'm an impressionist. And so I'm always giving you my impression of what I'm looking at. That particular piece is the same size as this. So that the pictures you see on the wall, you need to have some perspective in order to be able to see what the real size is. And that's this one. As you can see now, look at the difference. When you get up, you'll be able to get close, you'll be able to see the texture, you'll be able to see the depth in that. And why did I paint that? I'm interested in harmony. I'm interested in peace. And so when I'm painting about joy. I'm painting about peace. I'm painting because I want you to know that there is peace, there is love, there is joy in this world. We just have to find each other. Yes, find each other. You don't know what to do. Okay. Well, the last slide was this, again.
It doesn't move forward?
Ah, you're right. Okay. When I am moving all about, what am I looking for? You know what I love to do? I love to go to thrift shops. I love to go to garage sales. But that's from my childhood. From my childhood, my mother would take me to the Salvation Army, and I would cry. I don't want to go in here. And she'd say, why? I said, because if I go in here, my friends are going to see me here. You know what her answer was? If they see you in here, they're already here. The older I get, the smarter she gets. Because I wouldn't tell her when my shoe was too small, I'd just keep walking. I wouldn't tell her if it had a hole in it. No, I put a piece of cardboard in it because I didn't want to go in. But she was right. She was the woman was brilliant. Okay, so what am I looking for now as I'm going to all those same places? I'm looking for those pieces. That looks like a shoe tree, but it's not. It's an old cobbler's mold that they use, and that's what you're looking at as a head. And the rest of those pieces are individual, antique, whatever, old, and I want to put them together. I do that because sometimes you need a different outlet. I paint, but sometimes I need to do that. I do that, but sometimes I'm tired of standing, and so I will bead. I say all of that because I want you to appreciate whatever it is that you do that you feel is an outlet to express yourself. Do it. Make sure you do it and you get to enjoy it. I enjoy painting flowers, but I'm not trying to make them real. If I want to do that, what do I need? A camera, right. I want it to be an impression of what I'm feeling at that point. So if you look at that, you look at the flowers, it's in a swirl, because that's how I want to see it. I just did as part of the turtle project in Palm Coast, they now have a turtle trail. So I'm one of the artists that was selected to do a turtle. And that's the turtle that I did. That's Quilty. But it's a sad story. It was stolen. It was stolen. Crime Busters offered $7,500 for anyone who could give information to bring it back unharmed. $7,500 and not one answer. That was a storm for me because that turtle is so big, it took up the whole studio because you've got to keep going around. I looked in the face of that turtle so long until I thought I wasn't going to give it to them. Right, I like it. But no, it belonged to the city of Palm Coast. It was not mine, and it has been stolen. Storms happen, and you have to keep going. You go back to what you do that makes you happy, and then George Floyd. I couldn't paint because it was senseless. It was mean, it was evil. And when I looked at that on the TV, I cried. I could not paint. I wanted joy. I want peace. I want us to be one with each other. And so a group of women came together and they said, let's sit and talk. Let's sit and talk. Black women and white women together across the table from each other, asking the question, how were you brought up? What is it that keeps us apart? It's the fact that we have not had a conversation. We have not got to know one another. That's me sitting there. Can't move. Because I can't figure out to get out of that. And then I realized sometime out of the depths of despair comes a place we can come together. My cis sisters are here. Would you raise your hand, please? Yeah, exactly. They came from Palm Coast to support. And that's how we move forward. That's how we keep going. And so I had finished that, and then I started to put those little yellow things in there. What do you think those are? Fireflies! We don't have very many of them in Florida. This just died. Hello? Okay. Here he is.
Battery. It's a battery.
Fireflies. Fireflies come out at night when you're not expecting it, and it gives you hope. It gives you a place to say, I can come out of this storm and it's going to get better. Better. How many people want it to get better? Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Do you want it to get better? Yes, we do. We want it to get better. And so I will move on. I will move on painting. I will move on expressing joy. I will move on by talking with every single one of you and saying, we can do it. We can do it. When I'm in the dumps, I lift up my hand. Father, help me. When I don't know what to do, I lift up my hand. Father, help me. When I'm frightened to come in this room, Father, help me. And he does. He does. And so I express that to you, and I ask of you, let's be kind. Let's be gentle. Let's be joyful. And let's be good to one another. And I thank you so very much for coming. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Donna wants me to show you this picture. That's a picture last month. There was a Bible study, and so we had 17 kids. 17 kids in the Bible study. The people you see there with me are my helpers. Couldn't do it without them because 5 of the people were 2 years old. That's right. 5 of them were 2 years old and the rest of them were bigger. And you know what 2-year-olders do. I'll show you what they do. And his mother said, oh, it's fine. No, it's not fine. Because if I let him do that, what are the other 4 going to do? Same thing. Right. So I took him aside and I said, I've got a pail of water, and I got some baby shampoo, and I can help you make bubbles. He was just as happy, just as happy. And that's what it's about, happiness and smiling and being with one another. Again, thank you.